Boom. We are live. World of matchups in week 2, bringing the heat to you guys. Dexter Reed back in Las Vegas after my week 1 trip in Kansas City. On the other side, my A1 from day one, producer extraordinaire and co-founder of World of Matchups. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Spencer the Wiz. What up, dude?
Nothing. The NFL season feels like it officially starts when you see a blowout on Thursday Night Football. There's no good Thursday Night Football games, and somehow it's comforting to me. Even though it wasn't a good game, somehow you're like, you know what? Football's so back. We got a bad Thursday Night Football game. Let's do this.
I'm excited about this week, man. It was kind of a rough week for me last week being on the road, but I'm home now. I'm fed. I'm caught up, and I'm ready to lick my wounds from last week. We didn't have really a great week, neither one of us.
Week 1 is off. I'm always terrible in week 1. It's the hardest one to get done.
Yeah, Spencer was 5-9. I was 6-8, both against the spread, but we both did hit our best bets. Did your teaser hit? I forgot to check.
No. The Raiders, I think, blew my teaser by a couple points, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, the Raiders are a mess, man. But we'll get to them in a minute. Let's get started with the slate. Week 2, Cowboys. They're at home versus New Orleans and Saints. Cowboys -6. I'm going to tell you going in the door that the Saints were lucky last week to play such a cupcake team in the Panthers in their building. They go crazy, as I told you they would. They were my best bet. The Panthers are absolutely awful, and they just got destroyed. They were never in the game. The Saints scoring 47 points. I mean, the Saints could score 47 points in a season. That's how anemic that offense is. But the Panthers make everyone look good. They make everybody look good. Kamara looked like the Kamara of old. Now we head to Dallas. I picked against Dallas last week. I didn't think Dallas had it in them. I thought the Browns would play much, much better. Deshaun Watson is terrible. Now at home, this is what I know about the Dallas Cowboys. They beat teams at home. If there's a team that every year you can pretty much guarantee to go undefeated at home, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Derek Carr, to me, I'm not buying the smokescreen of him having a great week. To me, Derek Carr is the epitome of a mid-quarterback. I know the run game in Dallas isn't great, but the defense is all you really need when you're facing an anemic quarterback like Derek Carr. And I just don't trust the New Orleans offense to do this 2 weeks in a row. They had a really hard time getting their best player, Chris Olave, involved. I just don't trust it at all. Taysom Hill, to me, is absolutely nothing in this league. He's just a gadget guy that got overpaid. I think the Dallas defense comes to play in their home opener here, guys, and I'm not scared to lay the 6 points. Touchdown wins you money. I said what I said.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. When you're in Dallas, it's a tough place to win, that's for sure. You got to be one of the top teams in the league, at least over the last couple of years. And we've been talking about it all year. This is the same team. This is one of my – I didn't have a great week 1, but one of my best predictions was that Dallas would go into Cleveland and, take them out, and they did. So now going back home, I really like this. I think last week was a little bit more – I don't want to take away completely from what the Saints did, but I think it was a lot more about how bad the Panthers are. I think it was just a realization for everybody. We knew this was happening. You and I talked about it all off season long. This team got, not better for sure. Maybe not worse, but I don't know. That was not a good showing last week, and they may be worse than even you and I thought. And we were super low on the Panthers. So we'll have to see what they do outside of New Orleans, outside of playing probably the worst team in the entire NFL. And I don't think it's going to bode well for them. I'm a really big fan of Dallas in this game.
Yeah, I'm not off the Dallas train by any stretch. I just don't think they're going to be as good as the Cowboys of last year. But this is a gimme at home, I think. I'd be absolutely shocked if the Saints win this game or even cover. I like Dallas big in this game. Next, Las Vegas Raiders head to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens, who lost by basically an inch in Kansas City. I was at that game, and let me tell you, the emotions that went from winning in 1 second to knowing that, wow, we lost in the next second is pretty demoralizing for that Ravens team. They played well enough to win that game. And, I mean, I'm not a Homer Chiefs fan. I'm an NFL realist. And I believe if they would have scored that touchdown and it would have counted, Harbaugh would have gone for 2, and it's a coin flip at that point because the Kansas City defense was gassed. So I feel like that's a 50-50 game at that point that they could have won, but they ended up losing. Now they're home, and they're going to get fat on Vegas here. Dude, the Raiders are terrible, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Antonio Pierce is over his head. You know what Antonio Pierce is? He's a rah-rah, get you fired up, Braveheart coach. He's not an X's and O's guy. I'm sorry. 4th and 1 from that spot in the 50, and you don't go for it, shows absolutely little to no faith in your quarterback room. The worst thing that could have happened to the Raiders happened in the draft, man. Plan A went out the window, Plan B went out the window, Plan C went out the window. Everybody thought Michael Penix would be their quarterback. It didn't happen, and now you have 2 bums at QB. Minshew is terrible. AOC is terrible. And you only have a 2-down back in Zamir White because they don't really use him properly. Devontae Adams is getting traded this year, guys. Write this down. 8.5 is not enough in my mind. I think the Raiders get blown out 31-13 in this game. Lamar's going to go crazy. Spillane can't keep up with him. Max Crosby got put in an absolute envelope by a rookie. He got put in a box by Joe Alt. Folks, this is another no-brainer for me. Mark Andrews will have a better game. Kansas City doubled him. Likely is now a serious threat. And they're going to run the ball straight at the Raider defense with Derrick Henry, who was underused versus Kansas City. Take Baltimore all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, this is a tough one. The Raiders really beat themselves last week. They were a better football team for about 3 quarters, and then they just started to blow it. So hard to say because I saw some good things from them last week, some things that I really liked, especially in the beginning part of it. And then this team definitely isn't good enough to turn the ball over twice and win a football game. They're not going to score that many points, but their defense looked great. And at some point your defense is just going to get gassed, right? That's just like naturally speaking. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you keep turning the ball over on the other half of the field, you're eventually just going to start falling apart. And I think that's what happened. So 2 bad turnovers combined with some bad coaching decisions was the recipe for that loss. I mean, they should have won that game. They had it won. They were the better football team, in my opinion. So, but this is not the week where they're going to look like they're going to be able to do anything. This is going to be another bad loss for the Raiders. They're going to go down 0-2, and then they play the Panthers. And maybe that's their chance to start getting momentum in the right direction. So, yeah, I can't bet on the Raiders right now until I see them actually do something, which I think it's going to be a while until we see it. Probably next week against the Panthers.
And here's the thing that gets me about the Raiders, man. I'm all for talking trash. I love it. Talking trash with your fantasy team, talking trash with your real team, talking trash within the league. It just makes for better football. But if you're going to lay it down, you have to back it up. And all the Raiders did in the offseason was just talk. Talk. Go at the Chiefs. Talk. That's all they did was talk. Dude, you cannot talk like that and then come out and lay an egg. You looked horrendous, Vegas, and I think you get your doors blown off in week 2. Next. Giants head to the Commanders. Commanders are -1.5. We'll start with the Giants. Danny Dimes is the worst mistake the New York Giants have ever made. I was laying in bed this morning before I got up thinking about this because I'm from New York, you know what I mean? So I understand the New York media. I grew up rooting for the Giants. That's my dad's team. I get Big Blue. They have rings. They're a storied franchise. Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, all the vets and the honoraries are coming out and they're talking about just what is happening right now. And they literally should have paid Saquon and drafted a quarterback. But instead, they paid Danny Dimes and drafted a wide receiver, and it's been a recipe for disaster. I cannot begin to tell you how bad they look. They look horrendous. Conversely, Jaden Daniels looks scared to throw the ball. Okay, Jaden Daniels looked like a deer in headlights. Literally, if Jaden Daniels did not have wheels and bunnies, they'd be in big trouble because that's what saved them from actually looking really, really bad versus Tampa. Now they're home for their home opener. This is what I do know. I believe history is a real thing when it comes to making these kind of handicapping decisions. And the Giants, they go to Washington and they win all the time, man. They do. They have a history of just beating them there. And with a rookie quarterback that looked like a deer in headlights, the Giants' defense is not horrendous. It's their offense that's the problem. I mean, they still do have like Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, they have decent guys that can get after Jaden Daniels. I mean, what's after Terry McLaurin? Austin Eckler is washed. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. is good, but what gets me about Washington is that their defense is worse than the Giants. I mean, it's really, really, really bad. And you shouldn't be favored versus anyone anywhere. I mean, I know Daniel Jones is bad, but guys, Daniel Jones went on the road and won a playoff game 2 years ago. That was not that long ago. Is he worth $160 million? No. But I just need them to cover 1.5 here. And so I'm going to take the Giants. I'm not taking them with any kind of confidence. I'm just taking them because I know that everybody here is going to take the Commanders because all the recency bias, the TikTok videos, all the interviews, WFAN pouring on the Giants about how bad they are. I'll take them here. Danny Dimes he's got legs, man, and he can't play this bad forever. Can he, Spencer?
He can. I'm going to go completely opposite here. I think the Commanders win this football game. They are a very bad football team, and Daniel Jones is probably the worst starting quarterback in the entire NFL. That's saying a lot. So he has more pick sixes than touchdowns since signing his mega deal, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's the same thing that I talk. This is my philosophy when I talked about the Browns last week. Deshaun Watson is terrible, and they will lose games because he is terrible. Daniel Jones is no different. They will lose games because he is that bad. So I think the Commanders, they put up a decent fight last week, actually, against the Buccaneers. We know how good they are at home, and it looked like they were out of it for a little bit. Then they started to get a little momentum. They are not playing the Buccaneers this week. They are playing a awful, awful Giants team. So, yeah, give me the Commanders in this one at home, and Jaden Daniels pick up his first win. I think he will get better and better as the year goes on.
That I do agree with. I mean, you saw all the rookie quarterbacks come out and really kind of lay eggs. I mean, it's very difficult. This ain't college, guys. I'll talk about Caleb Williams here in a minute. This ain't college. You ain't in college no more, kids. This is real grown man BI. Next. The Los Angeles Chargers, they head to Carolina to take on the hapless Panthers. They're minus 5 points. Guys, this to me is a trap game. This is what I like to call a classic trap game where you have a team that wins the week before. Now they're heading 3,000 miles across the country to probably take on the worst team in the league in their building, getting 5 points. Now, the Panthers are horrendous. They are absolutely horrendous. Do I think they are as bad this year as they were last year? I do not. I think they are injured. I think they're injured. When we get Jatavion Sanders and Jonathan Brooks going, we got Deontay Johnson on one side. Xavier Legette starts to find his legs under him as a rookie. They have given Bryce Young some help here. They've given him some help here. Now, Dave Canales is over his head. We know this, okay? But I don't need you to win the Super Bowl. I need you to cover 5 points versus a team that I personally believe are a bunch of frauds. I think the LA Chargers are absolutely fraudulent, okay? If you think Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and a hurt Josh Palmer are going to save this team, you are mistaken. If you think you're going to let the corpse of J.K. Dobbins run for another 150 yards on the road, you are mistaken. I know Harbaugh is a good coach. Trust me, I know all about Justin Herbert, but something smells fishy here. I could see the Chargers winning this game by 3 points. Anytime you see like a weird crooked number like 5 or 8, buyer beware, man. And I know the Panthers are horrendous, but weird things happen in football, guys. Strip, sack, pick six, weird safety. These new rules got people all kinds of vexed. You know what I mean? And then before you know it, you're in a dogfight. I mean, let's not forget that the Panthers won 2 games last year, and the 2 games they won were versus 2 elite playoff teams in Houston and Green Bay. Home dogs pay dividends, and I'm not scared. A lot of y'all out there are scared because the Panthers are horrendous. I'm not scared, man. I'm going to take a shot at this. You know what I mean? You do what you want to do with your money. If you're scared, even tease it down. I cannot see the Chargers blowing anybody out 3,000 miles away from home. Give me the Panthers plus 5, and let's roll.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on this one. I don't know why, but the Chargers were not good last week. They literally were just given a layup. They just had to run the clock out to win the game. I mean, that's really all it came down to. The Raiders legitimately just gave that to them. But for the large majority of that game, they looked terrible. 130 passing yards from Justin Herbert. Those turnovers are what the difference of the game was. And they just, had a couple big run plays. And then there you go. The clock hits 0 and the game's over. They definitely did not implant themselves into that game and show that they were this really good team that the world, just wasn't ready for because they have Harbaugh now. So if Panthers play a lot better at home, they did last year too. They had a couple of decent games there last year. So yeah, I just don't like the Chargers. I really don't think they're a very good football team. Is there a world where the Chargers just win because the Panthers are that bad by a lot of points? I'm sure it is, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see if that is really as bad as the Panthers are going to get from a week-to-week basis, because they were better than that last year and for a lot of games, and they got better. So last week is just, week 1 is week 1. I have to I'm not going to suddenly change all of my opinions on these teams after seeing 1 week of performance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick before I forget to get this in later, guys, when it comes to the National Football League, you need to understand that a lot of these guys don't play in training camp very much. And then they don't play in preseason, which has gone from 4 games to 3 games. So, in essence, weeks 1 and weeks 2 are almost like an extension of preseason. So, for real life purposes, fantasy purposes, you're really not going to know what you're working with. So, week 3 or 4, man, it takes some time to build up and get the rust off for a lot of these guys, especially guys coming back from injury like Kirk Cousins. And you guys are panicking on these guys. Go easy. It's just 1 week. Next. Indianapolis Colts, they fly to Green Bay to take on the Jordan Love-less Packers and Matt LaFleur. The Colts are -3 here. I love the Colts in this game. If the Colts would have played anybody else but the Texans week 1, they probably would have won that game. They look really, really good. Anthony Richardson, to me, it could be a league winner. The guy he is the next Cam Newton. Now, I worry about his arm, but his legs, man, unbelievable. And that ball he threw to Alec Pierce, man, that was an absolute missile. And it was a beautiful catch and a huge score. I think my surprise team of the year could be the Colts if they can generate enough offense outside of Michael Pittman. If they get Alec Pierce involved, if they get Adonai Mitchell involved, they got something going there, man, because their defense is always better than average. And Jonathan Taylor and AR-15 are the real deal. I think that the Packers are in trouble here. The Packers are one of those teams that if you cut off the head of their leader, what are you going to do there? Josh Jacobs has been questionable all week. He will suit up, but their scoring prowess lies with their wide receivers. And if you can't get them the ball, how are you going to score? The defense is not that great. They're not good enough to keep guys in 10-7, 14-10 type wins. You saw what the Eagles did to them. I know the Eagles have a high-powered offense, but don't sleep on the Colts here. I think that Malik Willis, if he was really any good, he wouldn't have gotten bounced around the league the way he has already. And he almost lost his backup job in Tennessee. He's not good. He's a running quarterback that can't throw. Let the Colts get up 7 points in this game and unleash Jonathan Taylor, and then they got to throw to win. I'm going to lay the 3 on the road, and I'm actually going to do it with confidence, man. Jaden Reed is questionable. He'll suit up, but these questionable tags nowadays, they're the type of thing where it's one thing happens and the guy's in the blue tent and he's out of the game. It's not kind of questionable to play. It's more questionable to sit. And so I'm really concerned about the Packers. The Packers brass and LaFleur said they're not going to go out and try to get another quarterback. They have not put Jordan Love on IR. They are trusting the process. This is why they brought Josh Jacobs in. And after what I saw week 1, I'm not buying what they're putting down at all here. I know it's their home opener, but the Colts are better than advertised. Give me the Colts -3.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of this one too. Talk about Malik Willis, and it's only a 3-point spread. I know, Green Bay is definitely one of the best home field advantages, but there's got to be a limit to this kind of stuff, man. I love betting against bad quarterbacks because they're bad for a reason. This guy, I'm shocked that he is they didn't try to go out and maybe get a Ryan Tannehill or something like that. Their offense isn't centered around a running quarterback. I don't think I've ever seen Jordan Love run the ball once. So, Malik Willis is going to look to run a bunch of times in this game, and I don't think he's going to be able to get there. like you said, if they go up a touchdown, it's just going to be a dogfight for the Packers just to try to score a few points and like get back in this game. This is like a game I'd like to put on a teaser maybe, and he even get a field goal out of this. If Malik Willis can get go to the play the Colts and win by more than a field goal, I'd get a like tattoo of his name on my back or something like that. That would be unbelievable. So yeah, give me the Colts in this game. I think they blow them out.
Malik Willis is not good, folks. If Malik Willis is the answer, you have to go and ask yourself, what's the question? Next, San Francisco 49ers. They're minus 4.5. They go to Minnesota to take on the Purple People Eaters and the Minnesota Vikings. Let me tell you something, man. Niners look good. Niners look good, man. Niners are the type of thing where you're recognizing that it's not just the talent, it's also the system. Kyle Shanahan has got an amazing run scheme. The system is great. McCaffrey, I told you guys all offseason, McCaffrey is not seeing a full complement of games this year. You just can't run a guy into the ground that much and expect him to stay healthy. That was a no-brainer for me. But does it matter? No, because Jordan Mason, he's just been laying in the cut, waiting for his opportunity, and he ran through the Jet defense like a knife through warm butter. I mean, it was comical. That Jet defense is beyond overrated, and I think that Jet defense is better than the defense that you're going to see this week in Minnesota, which lends me to believe that they're going to murder this team. 4.5 is not enough. Dude, when Sam Darnold is your starting quarterback and you're home and you're only getting 4.5 versus a very stout defense, something is wrong. I think the Niners blow this team out. I don't think this game is particularly close at all. I think they control clock. I think they eat clock. I don't think the Vikings are going to see much of the field at all. Jordan Addison, questionable to doubtful, which just leaves Jets on Charvarius Ward. And if the Niners are smart like I think they are, they're just going to double him and give him help. TJ Hawkinson's on IR. Who does that leave? That leaves Aaron Jones and that other guy who's back there doing a whole lot of nothing. I know they look good versus the Giants. Spencer and I look good versus the Giants. Don't get gassed. I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked to see the Niners cough up a stupid win here. This is an easy W for them. They should have no problem. They got the better coaching, the better defense, the better offense. They just check every single box positively. The only negative here is that they're traveling, and I don't think that it matters either. Look, the Niners know that this is their last stand, guys. They have paid everybody, and they didn't want to pay any of these guys because they know the window is closing, and they are hoping and praying that they see anybody in the Super Bowl again except Kansas City. Because if they lose 3 straight Super Bowls, fold up the tent for the next decade. Kyle Shanahan will be fired. They've brought in a new DC. The Niners got serious problems if they lose this type of game. Trap games happen. I just don't see it here. I do not believe in Sam Darnold at all, anywhere on earth. Take the Niners with confidence.
This is my best bet. Just because the team looks good against the New York Giants does not mean they are a good team. I could see Sam Darnold having like a 2-interception game. I think they're going to get eaten alive here. I think they got a lot of credit on this spread from week 1. I think this is a bad football team. I think Jordan Addison is going to be out. That's just another less guy that you're going to have there. And the 49ers, yeah, they look like they were ready for the season. I was kind of high on them. And I was also not high on Christian McCaffrey. So I had the first overall pick in one of my fantasy leagues. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking – I took him last year. But you know what? I'm like, that's kind of – I was rolling the dice because this is a guy who hasn't stayed healthy his entire career. And then suddenly he's going to be healthy the entire time he's with the 49ers. I do not think so. And I do think he's going to get put on IR any day now. I think they're just holding off for whatever reason. So, yeah. This is a bad Vikings team. I don't think the team is going to age well as the season goes on. That was just a week 1 performance. Good for them. But I think reality is going to set in a little bit this week. Again, my best bet is the 49ers here.
Yeah, we're in agreement. No need to pontificate about this anymore. Let's move on. Next, the Cleveland Browns limp into Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags at home for their opener, -3. I like the Jags here for a lot of different reasons. I'm done, Spencer. I'm coming to understand that what you're saying is correct when we're talking about Deshaun Watson. I understand that the guy's dad died and things happen, but he just hasn't been good for a while. Guys, the Deshaun Watson we remember, the Deshaun Watson that played Kansas City in the playoffs, that guy died on the massage table. It's over. And Cleveland has literally made one of the worst decisions they could have possibly ever made in signing this guy and giving him guaranteed money. And then they doubled down and did it again when they gave it to Jerry Jeudy. Guys like Amari Cooper are hoping to get traded. He wants out. You know what I mean? No Nick Chubb. The defense literally will carry this team all year. Dallas dismantled this team. It was not a problem. And I do think that Trevor Lawrence has been paid up. Whether he has been deserving of that contract, to me, is more about what he did at Clemson versus what he's done with Jacksonville. But it's put up or shut up time. They've given him weapons. Evan Ingram underperformed badly. So did Christian Kirk. I do like the emergence of Brian Thomas Jr., and I think Doug Peterson is smart. Maybe not for you guys' fantasy purposes, but like spell Etienne and give Tank a little bit of run. I think they're going to run the ball right at Cleveland here. I don't trust the Browns on the road, especially with all the dissension. And then the cherry on top here is more allegations have now come out against Deshaun Watson again. Guys, when this kind of black cloud happens, it tends to linger for quite a while. And when there's smoke, there's fire. And not to get into this side of football, because we know there's a lot of allegations that these women make against men that are false. But when you have this many people coming forward, like I said, when there's smoke, there's fire. You guys can connect the dots all you want. But all of it adds up to me seeing Jacksonville getting their first win and doing it in convincing fashion. The Cleveland Browns are going to be a problem all season long. If it's not going to be this, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And I feel bad for Kevin Stefanski because he's a good coach. But you made your bed, and now you have to lie in at Cleveland. Jacksonville -3 all day long.
Yeah, Jacksonville should have won that game in week 1, too, against the Dolphins. That's terrible, but they're playing a much worse team. And I'm just going to say, until I see Deshaun Watson look like a top 20 quarterback in the NFL, which he has not his entire time with Cleveland, I'm going to bet against them every week. Now, I'm not going to be right every time, but I'm going to be right more times than I'm not, because this guy is legitimately bad quarterback play is going to lose you games. We've seen that already. Even if he was just average, they would win more games because they have a pretty good team around him. He is that bad. And I think Jacksonville, they looked pretty good in week 1. They played good enough to win. And if they play like that again at home against the Browns, this is an easy win for them. The Browns are going to be a terrible team all year as long as that guy's a quarterback. And you know what? This is so deserving of one of the worst franchises in the NFL to see a guy who has all these allegations against him, like over 20 women, and they're like, you know what, we're going to double down and give you a guaranteed contract, trying to capitalize on this horrible situation because no one else was out on the market, and they try to shore him up. That's what they deserve for trying to sign a guy with this kind of character and giving him guaranteed money. It is just so deserving of a franchise that is so badly run.
I can't think of a better franchise for this to happen to. And let this be a lesson to all you owners that will sell your soul to the devil to just win. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and that is the wrong way. Next. Upset special. I told you guys last week about the Patriots, and you didn't want to listen to me. I told you all. I told you. Patriots at home. Home opener getting 3 points from the Seattle Seahawks. And not only am I going to take the Patriots again, I'm going to double down. This team's defense is legitimate. I know Drake May is a rookie and they're not playing him yet, and he should deserve to be on the field. Fine. I get all that. And I get Gerard Mayo as a new coach. Fine. I get all that. But you cannot tell me that a Seattle Seahawks team that couldn't cover the spread last week in their home opener is going to fly across the country and take on this hard-hitting Patriots squad minus KW3 and cover that 3. I'm just not buying it, man. I'm sorry, and I know Jacoby Brissett is nothing special, but Ramondre Stevenson rushed for like a bazillion yards, 130 yards. Now, I understand the Cincinnati Bengal defense is soft like Charmin, but they have a secret weapon there, and they have a way to win games. Eat clock. Run the ball, throw when you absolutely have to. If Brissett has to scramble, let him do it, and you can win the game 16-10. I see them doing it again here. I cannot see Zach Charbonnet in his second NFL start going into New England and having a good game versus this defense. Guys, this defense is legitimate. They're always good. I mean, think about this. Going back to even like Brady's rookie year, they won on defense. Brady should take some of those rings off and give them to that defense. Because it's not like he was Patrick Mahomes out there throwing for a million yards. Defense won these Super Bowls early on until he came into his own. And that mantra, it hasn't changed. Coordinators may change, head coaches may change, but what the New England Patriots are known for is you are not going to beat us up. We're going to beat you up. And Geno Smith ain't Joe Montana. Geno Smith is 34, 35 years old. I'm not buying it. I think this is another one of those. I got 2 trap games this week, and let one of these hit you guys. Let just one of them hit you. You're never going to shut me up. I love the Panthers this week, and I love another bad team in the Patriots at home. And I'm telling you know what? I'm going to say this with my chest. The Patriots are winning this game outright. You heard it here first. Give me the Patriots at home +3. I do not believe in the Seattle Seahawks away from home minus KW3.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to get burned again. I can feel it, but I'm going to go to the Seattle Seahawks in this game. I think that week 1 performance is just about how bad the Bengals are and how much they're falling apart. And there were also just like 1 or 2 plays in that game that were the difference between Cincinnati like coming back and winning it. It wasn't a really bad fumble, a reversal on the touchdown on one of those plays. I mean, they were just right there. It really came down to just a couple of plays, and if those plays go the Bengals' way, then suddenly I think the Patriots lose that game by like 3 points. So I need to see more games from the Patriots before I'm like, all right, I was super wrong. They're not going to be one of the bottom teams in the league.
They are.
If that's true, I think the Seattle Seahawks are like a 9-win team this year, and this is those kind of games that they're going to win. I could see things like really flowing for them. Seattle didn't play their best game last week, and they still won. So. I mean, I could see it happening. I could see Geno having a bad game and suddenly they lose by a field goal. But I don't know. I still don't believe that the Patriots are going to be a team that's just always in the game every single week. I could see them losing some pretty bad games this year. So I'm not going to let week 1 be the biggest influence on my life. Maybe I'm going to be wrong again. I'll double down this time. I'm going to go the Seattle Seahawks in this game.
I think the Patriots are addition by subtraction, guys. You know what I mean? Let Matthew Judon go. He was a cancer. You don't want to be here. Goodbye. All right, guys, let's band together and let's do what we have to do. I think if they were smart, they would put Drake May out there and let him take his lumps. I'm telling you, the Patriots will not be too far from being in contention. It won't be like 5 or 6 years. Give me 2-3 years here. Why? Because they could stop people. Christian Gonzalez is very, very good. He's very, very good. I could easily see the Patriots winning this game. I'm not sold on Seattle away from the 12th man. Next. The Jets, who I took last week, went and pooped their diaper Joe Biden style, and so there's no way I am taking them here again. Jets minus 3.5 in Tennessee. How is this team favored? The most overrated defense in the NFL is the New York Jets. Robert Saleh is fighting for his job. He will be gone after this year. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers supporter. Aaron Rodgers looked tentative. He looks scared. Yes, can he still throw the ball? Absolutely. But you can tell that he was favoring out there because he just doesn't want to get hurt again. They don't feed the ball to Garrett Wilson enough. Alan Lazard, I know he had 2 touchdowns, but that guy's a bum, man. Let's be honest. And they just don't feed Breece Hall enough. Titans are going to stack the box, and they're going to do what they have to do, man. L'Jarius Steen's going to be on Wilson. That could be a 50-50 type thing. The Jets being favored on the road by 3.5 points to anyone is absolutely egregious. I'm sorry. Now, I know the Titans look bad. They did look bad. Will Levis has got rocks in his head. But what do they have? They have a decent running game, and they have weapons. And this is their home opener. Guys, home dogs pay dividends. I can't tell you how many times I've screamed this, and it has come to fruition for me. Titans plus 3.5 at home. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I think the Jets can be run on. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, these are good running backs here. They're not bums. I know the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins is on his last legs, but he's still more than serviceable. Him and Will Levis do have some kind of connection. Calvin Ridley is still there. If you can get anything out of this guy, they paid this guy to be a number 1. It's time for Calvin Ridley to show up. I know it's early. You know what I mean? I know we're kind of an extension of preseason here, but the Jets are horrendous, man. The Jets and the Giants are just hapless. Let me tell you, man, New York football fans are in shambles. People talking to me about the Jets being like the team that's going to compete with Kansas City. Guys, you need to stop. Aaron Rodgers is a statue back there. He's immobile. Okay, so if you're not running the ball well with Breece Hall, you can't win the game. You just cannot win the game. And so I know that the Titans spent a bunch of, draft picks on getting their O-line together. We just need Will Levis to not be an idiot. And you're going to cover this 3.5. Titans all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, one of us is going to have a good week. One of us is going to have a bad week. Man, I take the Jets in this game. Will Levis played one of the worst second halves of football. I'm not kidding you that I've ever seen in my entire life. If he just didn't lose them the game, they win by default. He actually actively was a participant in losing them that game. I think the Jets just ran into one of the best teams in football, if not the second best team in the National Football League. That's a tough game to play to start things out. This is a Titans team that is going to fall apart. If Will Levis plays anything like that, they're going to lose. He's going to get benched at some point in the season. I don't even know who they have behind him, but if it's that bad, I mean, he made 2 of the worst plays you'll ever see in your life, flipping the ball out 10 yards to the sidelines. I've never seen anything like that. It looked like he regressed so much. The bad, strip sack fumble, zero awareness. I don't care who they have on offense. I think the Jets are going to look like a much more competent team this week. And I think it's going to look really... I was high on Will Levis going into the season, but seeing that with my own eyes, that goes beyond the team's getting going. He looked like he had no idea what he was doing. They should have won that game by 27 points against the Bears. And because of him specifically, because they had a terrible special teams, they lost it. They just gave that game up. That was embarrassing. That was one of the most... If the Raiders, if that game didn't exist, the Raiders would have had the worst loss of the week, but nothing compared to what the Titans did in the last Sunday. Give me the Jets in this game. I love them. I think they're going to blow them out. I really do. Even though the Titans are home, I really don't care. I think Will Levis is that bad.
Yeah, I think the Jets are overrated. Seriously.
Neither of these teams are good, but I think the Jets.
But people aren't talking about the Titans like they're going deep in the playoffs. People are talking about the Jets like they're going deep in the playoffs, and they need to stop.
Because that knucklehead goes on the Pat McAfee show.
And they need to stop. Literally, Aaron Rodgers is one hit away from being in a wheelchair. Next. Bucks at the Lions, our valuable soldiers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They go to Detroit to take on the Lions, who made us both look stupid last week because Puka Nacua went down. I'm here to tell you guys, Puka Nacua might be out for the year. That's first things first. He might be done.
That's my fantasy luck. I have Kenneth Walker and Puka Nacua. Both of them go down in week 1.
Puka might be done, man. And here's the thing. I mean, you guys knew about this problem in preseason, but you ride Puka and you ride Cooper Kupp so hard that your bones, your muscles, guys, they're not built to withstand these kind of injuries. And Puka plays a rugby-style wide receiver. And so now he's really hurt, man. And I think he's hurt more than Sean McVay is letting on. So that's a big problem for them. I think the Buccaneers defense is not as good as the Rams. The Rams have reloaded with Fisk and Verse and did a pretty good job in this game of taking a lot of things that the Lions like to do away. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown was very quiet. I don't think that's going to be the same thing here with the Bucs. And I know the 7 sounds like a lot. And the Buccaneers looked very, very good last week versus a bad Commanders team. But, styles make fights, and this is a different week. And I am one of those people who have been on record saying that I think the Lions are going to host the NFC Championship. It's going to be either versus the San Francisco 49ers or the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the emergence of Jameson Williams, albeit questionable this week, is now going to balance out that offense even more. It gives them that deep threat that they really haven't had. And you cannot double Amon-Ra St. Brown because now J-Mo's there. And then their run game is only second in the National Football League to the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're figuring this whole thing out. I love their head coach. I'm going to take the Lions minus the 7. I'm going to lay it. I think the Buccaneers are good. I think Baker Mayfield is feeling himself. I don't think they're that good. You know what I mean? We saw these two teams play last year in the playoffs, and what happened then? I think it's very similar here, and this is a year later. That team's gotten older, and this younger team's gotten better. I'm taking the Lions. I'm actually taking them with confidence here. I think that Dan Campbell's going to unleash Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more each week, and you're going to see what I think I've been seeing since I watched this guy in college. To me, Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back in the entire National Football League. You just wouldn't know it because you don't get to see it. If you got the type of Breece Hall type of love to Jahmyr Gibbs, those kind of rushes, those kind of catches, you would see what I'm talking about. The guy glides through defenses like nothing I haven't seen in a long, long time. I'm taking the Lions, and I'm taking them to win big here, 31-17.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I don't know. I'm not as confident, but this Lions team looks like, as good as we have, as good as advertised. This is a different Lions team than we've known. This isn't one of those teams that everyone gets high on and then suddenly they don't look good. This is a real legitimate contender in the NFC team. The Buccaneers did look good last week. Baker Mayfield looked great. So those are obviously big positives, but I think we've seen over the past couple of years when it comes to this Buccaneers team that they do hit their ceiling pretty hard, especially when they play one of the better teams. They really beat up those, average teams, which, they take care of business. But I can't think of a defining win. I know they beat the Eagles in the playoffs, but that Eagles team was kind of falling apart at that point. I just can't think back on those signature wins that the Buccaneers get against those really great teams. They're not at home either, so that definitely just is more points in the bucket for the Lions here. So the Lions had a nice little start to the season, 2 home games. That's pretty nice against teams you probably wouldn't want to see in the middle of the season in those away games. So good for them to kind of have a nice little schedule to start things out. I just think that them being at home is what's going to put it over the edge.
Agreed. Next, Rams at the Cards. Rams took a tough loss. Boy, Matthew Stafford can't get a win in Detroit. Now they fly to Arizona and take on the Cardinals, who covered for me last week by a half point. I told you guys, they're the backdoor cover kings, man. Yeah. They really are. They do this all the time. I love the Cardinals, especially on the road. Home opener, Marvin Harrison Jr. catches one ball. I can't see that staying the same, especially when he's complaining about it. I know him and Kyler Murray aren't on the same page. I don't expect that to last. You drafted this guy first for a reason. James Conner, if healthy, is an unsung hero in the running back room of this league. And I think that you're going to see it here this week. I do think they're going to win their home opener. I've been to that stadium a bunch of times, State Farm Stadium. I mean, they love their Cardinals. There's nothing else really going on down there except the Sun Devils. You know what I mean? Arizona sports, it's just not a big thing. They just lost their hockey team, but they love their Cardinals, man, and those fans will show up. And I do think the Rams take an L here. You're gonna have to double Cooper Kupp. One wide receiver getting 22 targets, not named Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens. It's ridiculous. I mean, just double the guy. Take those away. Force Kyron Williams to beat you underneath. Make them throw to Colby Parkinson. I mean, Matthew Stafford is a statue as well. Him, Aaron Rodgers, all these old guys, they're not very mobile. You know what I mean? The Arizona defense is better than advertised. They stay in games. Kyler can run. You see where I'm going with this? Trey McBride, Greg Dortch, they have a lot of ancillary pieces. Guys, just win the game. It's a pick 'em. I'm taking the home team, man. It's coming off a tough loss. Like I said, last week is an anomaly, man. You think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get one target and be streaking down the sideline untouched with his hand in the air again? You ain't seeing that again. They're going to feed this guy like a hungry animal. Give me the Cardinals and give me them big.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with you. This is one of those games that are tough to call. Something I wouldn't touch on a ticket, but one that you'll tune in for to kind of see how it's going. Kyler Murray looked pretty good last week. He had a lot of really good plays. It kind of looks back to normal, in terms of at least running the ball. It's nice to see that he's not afraid. Some quarterbacks, after they take bad injuries like that, kind of adjust their play style. And I'm not saying he's like putting his head down and trying to run guys over. He's smart when he runs the ball. He's one of the smartest quarterback, when it comes to running in the league. He'll get out of bounds. He'll get his 10 yards. He sneaks past the little yard marker. And he did that a lot against the Bills. I think the Bills are a pretty good football team. I said that, going into the season, and they look pretty darn good. So I think that this is a Cardinals team that has a very defined ceiling. And I guess the Rams are kind of in the same boat. they're really a coin toss away from probably winning that game against the Lions. I mean, let's be honest, the overtime rules are still terrible.
Yeah.
It's weird that you can have it for the Super Bowl, but not the regular season.
Not the regular season. Stupid.
Seems stupid. I hate how the NFL changes their rules every year. You have to like get up on it.
Freaking year. My goodness, man. Make a decision and stand on it already.
I think the overtime rules should have both teams have the ball in their hands. It just seems kind of ridiculous that a team can, because they got a 50-50 shot at hitting a coin toss, has a chance to just outright win the game and the other team doesn't get a chance. That's just stupid. Because it looked like the Rams were like going to win that game. And I feel confident if they did win the coin toss, they would have. So
I think so
it's
too.
hard for me to say that and then suddenly say that the Cardinals are going to win this game. But these are division games. They're always a little bit different. You know what I mean? They're hard to call. And these are teams that usually split the season a little bit. So at least historically speaking. And with the Cardinals at home, they looked a lot more competent. You and I are pretty high on them. I'm going to go out and say, you know what? I'm going to take the Cardinals at home in this game. I like him. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's looking pretty good. I think as the weeks go on, him and Marvin Harrison Jr. are going to really start to click. And once that does, they're going to be not a dangerous team, but a team that can win any week. I don't really care who they're playing, unless it's like the Chiefs. You know what I mean? They can go in and play any of these teams down the list.
I'm telling you, the emergence of Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a thing to be studied.
We keep saying it. Don't let week one be the reason you're like, oh, he's terrible. Oh, week one, he's terrible. Why did they draft him 4th overall? Like, be serious.
Do not be prisoners of the moment. There's 18 games in this season. That last week was 1. Next, Steelers at the Broncos. Steelers -2.5. I love the Steelers in this game. I've been telling you about Pittsburgh. They're just one of these teams that win, and they win ugly, man. You know what I mean? They went to Atlanta and beat up the Falcons, man. Kirk Cousins looked absolutely lost. And I love the Steelers because I love their coach. Can weather any storm. There's no tsunami that Mike Tomlin can't weather, whether it's Antonio Brown and his CTE nonsense or Le'Veon Bell, his nonsense. The guy should be given a Nobel Peace Prize just for dealing with those two knuckleheads. Kenny Pickett wins with that guy. I mean, what can they do? They go into Denver with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, who my wife and I watch Bo Nix because we're Oregon Duck fans, so we watched a lot of that game in Seattle. And he didn't look bad. He didn't look bad as Daniels or Caleb Williams. But, guys, Bo Nix is not a first-round quarterback. I'm sorry. They took the Denver Broncos took Bo Nix because they didn't want to end up like the Raiders are now with Jarrett Stidham. And so they took a shot on him. I think Bo Nix will end up being okay, but this is a tough spot in your home opener because the Steeler defense is relentless. They are relentless. Highsmith, Watt, Porter Jr., they have a very good defense, and their offense ain't that bad either, man. Look, I like Justin Fields starting over Russell Wilson all day, every day, twice on Sunday. That's an underrated, slept-on move, trading for him for a 6th. Can you imagine what they'd be doing right now with Russ? I'm glad they have Justin Fields. Pickens is good. Freiermuth is good. They just play a slow, ugly, middling type of game, which doesn't really lend to, high-powered NFL, rah-rah, fun, score. They're just boring. But they win, and I think they're going to win again. You can't tell me they can't go in there and set stunts and blitzes that are going to confuse a guy like Bo Nix. They're going to go after him. It's only 2.5. Field goal wins it from Chris Boswell. Guys, don't be scared. Really, don't be scared. I mean, what did the Broncos have? A beat-up Javonte Williams, who is overrated after coming off an ACL tear. McLaughlin, who is just a screen guy. You know what I mean? Estime's on IR. And then they have Cortland Sutton and Greg Dulcich. I mean, they don't have much. You know what I mean? And their defense, outside of Surtain, they don't have much. This should be a resounding W for Pittsburgh, and this is one of my favorite picks this week.
Oh yeah, this is on my teaser ticket, which I will show at the end of the show. This is a bad spot for Bo Nix, and I've been really thinking about this. Like, you don't want to be in the position of the Raiders, but on some level, and we'll have to see. Again, it's only 1 week, but I also don't want the Raiders to be in a position where they draft a middling quarterback, where they spend the next 5 years figuring out if he's the guy. All of the top teams in the league, when they were in the draft, they got their guy. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Lamar Jackson is kind of a different story. But for the most part, I'm talking about most teams. When they drafted their guy, it wasn't, hey, let's see what we got, and then you just kind of go along. I could just see that happening with Bo Nix. Is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be the guy? He didn't look good in week 1, that's for sure. And that's just it's a terrible spot to be in, because you know what? The Raiders have been in that spot my entire life where you're like, hey, this guy could be pretty good if he plays his best. I'm so sick of seeing that. I'm so ready for a franchise quarterback. And I don't know if they have it in Bo Nix. I got to see a lot more out of the kid before I'm like even leaning towards that way. And you go and play the Steelers, who field goals are so valuable for that team because of how good their defense is. They just need to get points up. It's not even about touchdowns for them, because at the end of the day, if they score the field goal, I mean, the other team has to go down and at least get in field goal position. And that is not easy to do, especially as that clock keeps on ticking. Suddenly you look up and there's 5 minutes. 5 minutes to drive down on the Steelers. It seems like you got like 30 seconds sometimes, because it is just so hard. And they're just that good on defense. Like I said, this is one of my favorite games of the week. So yeah, I love the Steelers in this game. I think that line is actually kind of insane. I think they might not blow them out. Like blowing out is like 10 points for the Steelers, but I could easily see a 10-point victory for them.
I agree, man. And don't sleep. You know, Jalen Warren's coming back from a minor hamstring injury. They're going to give him more work this week. And Najee went 20 for 70. Not crazy, but guys, it just keeps the clock running. It keeps the clock moving. You can't get on the field if you can't get these guys off the field. You know what I mean? And so, and Denver's not scoring like that at all either. And this is a contract year for Najee. He slimmed down. He looks pretty good, man. I love the Steelers in this game. If it wasn't for the Chiefs, this would be my best bet. Next, Bengals at the Chiefs. Chiefs back-to-back home games. Thrilling win week 1. I was at that game. It was absolutely amazing. Arrowhead is electric. The Chiefs are buzzing. The only team that can beat the Chiefs in my mind is the Chiefs. I'm going to stand on that 10 toes down. I know the Bengals are still living, off the terrible Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes second half of that championship game that they won to go to the Super Bowl and when they lost. But there's a lot of things working against Cincinnati in this game. And really quickly, I'll go through them. 1, they got their doors blown off by Ramondre Stevenson and the Patriots at home. 2, T. Higgins is doubtful to out in a walk year where you really need a guy to play for his money. If he's not playing, you know he's hurt. 3, the whole bad taste of the Jamar Chase contract thing. That's a problem. 4, the run D is terrible, man. Isaiah Pacheco is built for this. Carson Steele is built for this. And 5, man, the Bengals just don't stop talking. Guys, when are you guys going to learn? Seriously. This is a serious question. Not to poke the bear. When are you going to learn not to poke the Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Every time a team talks at this team, they just quiet and they go about their business and then they win. And I think they're going to destroy the Bengals this week, personally. I don't think Joe Burrow's wrist is 100%. I think they're in big, big trouble. If they can just slow Jamar down, there's no way I can see Kansas City losing this game. These first 2 games are not just about getting W's at home. These are tiebreaker games. This is a rivalry game. This is a bragging rights game. And the Chiefs personally see that, they're trying to do some stuff that like goats like Tom Brady never did. I'm not saying they're going to go 17-0, but why not try to go for it? And I'm here to tell you that if the Kansas City Chiefs win 3 in a row, we need to have a serious talk about the GOAT position in football. Because now you're talking about things that like Tom Brady never did. You know what I mean? And Patrick Mahomes is out for blood. I was in the stands. They did not play well versus the Ravens. Don't get gassed. It was a B- game, and they got lucky at the end. I think they're going to play much, much better this week. Now, they lose Hollywood Brown. Fine, okay? But this is why you went and got Xavier Worthy. And Cam Taylor-Britt is talking all this nonsense about Worthy. Dude, they're gonna unleash Worthy this week. You did not see them throw deep last week. I was waiting for it. I was hoping I'd see it. I'm talking a 50-yard bomb. This is what they have been practicing doing all training camp. This is what they got this guy for. You're going to see it this week. And the underneath is going to be open. Worthy is going to eat. Kelsey's going to eat. Rice is going to eat. And Pacheco's going to go absolutely bananas. If you have Isaiah Pacheco anywhere this week, guys, you absolutely start this guy. I'm telling you, this is a 34-35-17 final. This is my best bet, and I'm saying it with my chest. Go Chiefs.
I'll be honest. I just don't think the Bengals are a very good team.
They talk like they're Super Bowl champs.
I say this like every week, but it's like let me see it. Let's see it let me see it one time, because you just don't. Like every week we're like, oh, it's the Bengals, you know? What about them makes them so special? Because when I watch them on the field, they never look that good. So T. Higgins is out again. This is just more reason that this team, I'm just not a big fan of them. And not to the level maybe of like the Browns or something like that, but they're not that far off. Let me see them get a good win, because I feel like it's been like 3 years. They have just strung along. Joe Burrow gets hurt, so we're like, we'll wait till next season. We'll wait till next season. And suddenly you look back and that was like 4 years ago. So they just keep stringing along. This is a good rivalry game. It always is. So there's always a chance for some sparks. It doesn't really matter how bad your team is. When you play a rival, somehow you just figure out a way to make it happen. And this is one of those games where it really is kind of like a big rivalry, just like the Raiders and Chiefs. The Raiders have been terrible forever, and they play good against the Chiefs a lot of the times, especially over the past few years. Kind of see the same thing happening here, but at the same time, this offense looks anemic. And it's not going to get better against the Chiefs, I'll tell you that, because their defense is really good. And this is not a good spot for the Bengals. I really like the Chiefs in this game. I would seriously be shocked if the Bengals came in and looked really, really good against them.
Well, all they do is talk. At what point are you going to back this up? You can't live on what happened in 2021, man. I'm sorry. Jamar Chase talking about the team to beat in the AFC is the Bengals. Guys, you have to stop with this nonsense. You know what I mean? It'll get handled when it gets handled. That's how the Chiefs go about business, and it's going to get handled. It's going to get handled at Arrowhead tomorrow. Guys, I'm telling you, do not be scared of this 6 points. Touchdown wins this game. Chris Jones is going to go after Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is not healthy, guys, either. I'm sorry. Don't get gassed. This Bengals defense is not good, and the team in general as a whole is in shambles quietly. The people who talk the most are the weakest. They're the weakest. They have to convince themselves that they're in the same class as this Kansas City Chiefs. They're not, guys. It's not even close if we're being honest. Next. Sunday Night Football. Da Bears. They head to Houston, Texans minus 6.5 for Sunday Night Football. This is the emergence of what I see the Houston Texans starting to take that next step into being a really, really good team, a playoff team, a team that people will see as a viable threat. They're now getting Sunday night games. They're getting primetime games. CJ Stroud looked very, very good last week. Stephon Diggs looked very, very good last week. The Texans are a real deal, man. I'm sorry. Danielle Hunter. They got good players. Joe Mixon looked like he turned the clock back. When was the last time you saw an NFL running back get 30 carries? This is a real deal team, guys. I'm worried about the one team that I am worried about is the Houston Texans. I'm not worried about the Bills. I'm not worried about the Ravens. I'm not worried about I'm worried about the Texans. And they are going to absolutely dismantle Chicago on Sunday Night Football. They are going to blow this team out. Caleb Williams, welcome to the NFL, son. Those Patrick Mahomes comparisons that they kept talking about early on, where was it at? Because you couldn't even throw for 100 yards. Your team looked absolutely anemic. Now Rome Odunze is hurt. Now Keenan Allen is hurt. You guys are going to get absolutely murdered in this game. I feel so confident about this. I would put my own money on this. You are going to get destroyed. They are not going to be able to have an answer for what Houston is doing on offense or on defense, and I think this ends up to the tune of 35-7. I'm not even joking you. Caleb Williams has a long way to go before he is becoming an upper echelon player in this league. And when you have no humility and these other players see it, they're going to run it up on you. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They've got nobody that can stop all these guys. Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, even a guy like Dalton Schultz. These are all very, very good players. And then CJ Stroud's just going to do what he does. I'm worried about Jalen Johnson a little bit on defense for Chicago, but that's about it. Cole Kmet is almost an afterthought. I'm ready to drop him in some leagues. They don't even use the guy anymore. I mean, like, their run game is okay. They don't give Swift the ball enough. I mean, you're doing all the things wrong that you should be doing right to help Caleb Williams. Tennessee is not a good defensive team, and you should have lost that game. Let's be honest. Spencer said it earlier. If it wasn't Will Levis having rocks in his head, you would have lost that game by 10 points in your building. Now you're going on Sunday Night Football and you're going to get absolutely murked. I feel so confident about this, man. I'm telling you. I am guaranteeing a big-time win for Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. Lay that, what is it? What's the 6.5? Lay that, dude, touchdown wins you money. Stop it.
Oh, yeah. I have not been like the biggest advocate of the Bears this offseason, and week 1 proved that. I mean, they literally were given a win. Will Levis literally gave them the ball to win the game twice. Like, it was so easy for them. They didn't have to try. A special teams touchdown, 2 of the worst turnovers I've ever seen in my entire life. Other than that, they looked like garbage. And like
Horrible.
you said, now Roma Dunze is like, I don't know. He might be hurt. He might be out for a long time. Keenan Allen is made of glass.
Hurt.
Like, you already know
hurt.
That guy was going to get hurt at one point in the season. That's just
always
a fact.
Hurt.
And now it's early. Now it's really early where that's going to happen. I don't see them drastically improving. And if that's the case, man, the Texans are going to go in there at home. Oh, it could get ugly really quickly.
Fast.
Because Caleb Williams did not look good at all in that game. Not even a little bit. So he is going to run into a meat grinder here in Houston.
Show some humility, son. This ain't college no more. This is grown man BI we're dealing with. And this is an up-and-coming Houston Texans team that I'm worrying about as a Chief fan more than any other AFC team. Guys, talk to me in 10 weeks. You're going to see what I'm talking about. I saw this last year before they went out and they retooled. They're a real deal threat. And then finally, Monday Night Football. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons limp. They limp into Philadelphia. Oh my goodness, a house of horrors for Kirk Cousins. Just simply because of Kirk Cousins' history with going to the link and playing this team, I'm taking the Eagles minus the 6.5. Just simply off that. I just can't tell you how many times I've had Kirk Cousins in fantasy and it's a Monday night game or a Sunday night game and one of these teams who are really, really good on the road and he just stinks it up, man. Kirk Cousins, I'm worrying about him. Guys, I'm seeing why they drafted Michael Penix now. Kirk Cousins looked very tentative. Him and Aaron Rodgers, man, they look scared. They look like they were going to get hurt. It's like when Cap Rooney in any given Sunday was out there and the guys are coming after. He's like shaking, basically. He just didn't look like he had the same decision-making he had when he was with Minnesota. His arm looked weak. His legs didn't look strong. His footwork was awful. I mean, I think they're in big trouble here, man. I really do. This is one of my favorite picks this week. You give me a touchdown at home. Now, I know A.J. Brown's got some hamstring tightness. I don't think it's going to matter. Why? Because the Eagles went out. To me, they made the splash of the offseason by getting Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is this year's CMC.
And they had a great draft.
And they had a great draft. Man, and some of these draft picks aren't even panning out yet. I mean, let Nakobe Dean or Jordan Davis ever do something. And did the Eagles, on paper, the Philadelphia Eagles should go back to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is not even playing that well. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis are not even playing that well. Bradbury, Slay, older guys, not even playing that well. If you guys got all these guys at 90% of their potential, they would not lose a game this season. That's how loaded they are. But I think the problem with the Eagles is their head coach. And I like the fact that they bring in O.C. Kellen Moore to take that load off. Now let him worry about that and let Nick Sirianni get all the credit because to me, Sirianni is not a good coach. To me, he's kind of an idiot. But Kellen Moore now with Saquon is a match made in heaven. You saw it versus the Packers on the road. This is their home opener in a place where they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. I'm sorry. I think Kirk Cousins is in for a long, long day, man. Anytime interception is an absolute guarantee here. Take the Eagles with confidence. It's only 6.5. I promise you, Spencer, this line's going up before Monday night. Get them at 6.5 now and get a cheesesteak because you are absolutely winning money here. The Atlanta Falcons are not a team that knows how to win on the road, and it's a new day with a new quarterback. It's going to take some time. Guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts did absolutely nothing. They're going to just stack the box against Bijan Robinson and dare Kirk Cousins to throw. And when he throws in that stadium, he completes more passes to the wrong team. This is a resounding Eagles win.
Yeah, they're going to throw snowballs with rocks in the middle in this game. This is a tough game for the Falcons, man, because they just have not had a favorable schedule to start their season. Yeah, they're starting their season off against two of the best defenses in the entire NFL. I guess it's a good test for them, and I could see things opening up for them later down the season. Darnell Mooney, I could see having some good games. It's not going to happen now. That's unfortunate. Sometimes someone has to have a bad schedule in the NFL, and I guess that's the Atlanta Falcons. They're just going to have to wake up a little bit, and they're going to get a big awakening again. I like their long-term prospects over the course of the season. They're going to start picking up wins. It's not going to happen here. I love the Eagles. It's one of my favorite teams going into the season, and they proved why in week 1. And they did that in Brazil. Wait till they get home and they start beating up on teams like this. They're going to gain a lot of confidence. I've said it. It's so hard to recover from a Super Bowl loss. It's, they make it seem so easy. You have the shortest off season. You have the biggest disappointment in the entire NFL. That's so hard because you just want to look to the next Super Bowl. You just want to be like, I just want to get back there. And you can't do that in an NFL season. They had a big wake-up call last year. They had a great off season, and now they look ready to just carry on, maybe from like where they were 2 years ago, because let's not forget
that's
like a 12-win team a couple of years ago,
man.
And they look like they're on track to do that again because their division's terrible. They're going to pick up lots of easy wins there, and now they're playing the Falcons at the right time. They're at home. This could be a blowout, big time, huge blowout for the Eagles here.
I agree, man. I agree. I think this is really a bad spot for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, and I see them getting their doors blown off. Before you throw your your 3-teamer up, I got a 2-teamer. I like to do 2-teamers. I really like the Eagles, and I really like Pittsburgh. I think if you parlay those 2 teams, there is no way in hell that's gonna not hit. I just cannot see either one of those teams messing that up. Throw your 3-team teaser up there, Spencer, and then we'll close the show out with parting shots.
All right. I like to do 3-team because I do teasers, so you have to throw in a 3rd team there just to get a decent money back. But the San Francisco 49ers plus 1.5, that was obviously my best bet. I think they cover anyway. So if I'm going to throw it on a ticket, obviously I'm happy to get a point because, again, I think they blow them out. I think the Vikings are a bad team. I think the 49ers are a great team. So when you combine those 2 things together, that feels like an easy one to me. Now, this is where we disagreed kind of big time here. I like the Jets in that game. I think the Titans are going to really struggle. I think the Jets are going to find their stride. I don't think they're going to be an amazing team by any stretch of the imagination. I just think they're a much better team than the Titans. And if I get a feel out of it, if the Titans go in there and blow out the Jets, then okay, yeah, I have to just completely reassess my entire thought process. I think the Jets just ran into the best team in football, and they lost because they're not that good.
Yeah.
And then, I love the Steelers this week. I think they're going to eat Bo Nix alive. This is not a good spot for him. I know they're at home, but I don't think that really matters much. The Steelers can play anywhere on any football field in the entire country and give that team a good smack around on defense. And considering Bo Nix is a rookie, another couple interceptions could be in the works for Bo Nix, or a fumble, or a combination of all of those things. If I get more than a field goal out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, I feel like I'm going to be eating good that night.
I agree, and I love it. I love it. Everything besides the Jets, but that's kind of one of those remains to be seen teams. Parting shots. My parting shots is I need to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Look, guys get concussions quietly in the NFL, and then guys get concussions that look like what you've seen with Tua over the last couple years, and then what happened on Thursday Night Football was really, really bad, and Damar Hamlin, of all people, laying the wood. I mean, he ran right into the kid's chest, and that was that. I'm of the school that, money is nice. Your contract is huge, and, you get millions of reasons to continue to play. I think Tua should retire. I do. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to hold him out. But eventually they're going to bring him back probably sooner than later because Miami is built to win now. Not that I think they can win now because if the sun's not up, they're useless. They just got demoed in their own building. Tyreek Hill is on the other side of 30. I don't really think they're a win now team. I think you have to assess somebody's health and prioritize somebody's health over winning a Super Bowl. Look at what happened to Cleveland. They prioritize trying to win a Super Bowl, and they bring in Deshaun Watson, and now they're stuck for 10 years. I'm worried about Tua. I really am, man. I've never had a concussion, but from what I understand, The lingering effects of these concussions are going to be felt in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I think he's playing with his life. I really do. I think that they have done a poor job of protecting Tua. I think Tua has made some poor mistakes, some poor judgment calls. I mean, why are you leading with your helmet in a game that is down? You're down 3 touchdowns. Slide, my guy. Live to play another down. And it's sad to watch. I'm no Tua fan. I think Tua sucks. I've been saying that for a long time. Everyone's been telling me how good he is. I just don't see it. I mean, you watched it Thursday night. The guy turns the ball over like it's ridiculous. Like it's the thing to do. But thoughts and prayers go out to Tua, and I hope he gets better soon. But I just had to put that out there. Like I want to win. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not willing to sacrifice somebody's livelihood and health to win. I'm not that one. Your parting shot.
Yeah, and he's a great guy, and I'll double down on it. We talked about it before the show. One thing I do hate about the modern NFL is how detailed. Like a guy gets hurt, they used to cut to commercial, or the players would surround him so you couldn't see. Now you get zoom ins. You have video packages of guys having a spasm on the field.
It's all TMZ.
I hate that.
The whole world.
I hate that, man. I think there should be a level of privacy when a guy gets hurt like that. I know. It's an entertainment product, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? But those are things that we shouldn't see. And I think that as people and social media, we are just pushing that on us, where it's normal now. Oh, come on, let's see it. We have to see it. We have to see it immediately. I need to see it in 5 different angles. It's just kind of gross, man. This guy is potentially killing himself on the field. Mm-hmm. We almost saw a guy die on the field. That's the guy who we ran into. And we saw the whole thing. We saw 50 different replays of it and close-ups and expert analysis. I don't need to see Tua having a spasm with his hands on the field. And it is getting bad. It was an awkward hit he had on DeMar Hamlin, but at the same time, it didn't look like the nasty hit I'd ever seen. So it seems like the more damage he's getting to his brain, the easier it is for him to have these kind of episodes. And that sucks, man. If I don't even want to say it, but if we ever saw something real nasty happen to Tua, which I feel like we already have. The breadcrumb trails are going to be so disgusting, where it's going to be dude, we've seen this. This is naturally where it was we're heading down a very dangerous path for him. And I remember a few years ago, they used to forcibly take guys out of the game if they felt like something was wrong. That's gone. Where did that go? Remember they had a separate person not on the field being you got to get this guy out of the game. I don't think I have seen that in 3 years. So they don't care about these guys' health, obviously.
Not at all. That's why I'll never be mad about players getting their money, because they don't care about you.
They could care less.
They could care less, and it's sad because it's such a great product. All right, guys, that's the show. Best bet for Spencer is the Niners -4.5. My best bet is the Chiefs -6. World of Matches bringing the heat. Thanks for the likes, the love. Subscribe, share the video. Hopefully you guys make some money and enjoy week 2. We will be back next Saturday, and we are out.
See you guys.